Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and thanks to Boston Motorsports, part of the McGovern Auto Group in Brighton, Massachusetts, I'm driving this 2020 Ford Mustang GT500, 760 horsepower, 625 pound-feet of torque, and it's in grabber lime, so it looks pretty outrageous. In fact, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and Animal Control just drove by. I got a little bit worried that they were gonna stop because this pretty much looks rabid. This does not have the carbon fiber pack, thankfully, because I do not wanna be responsible for those expensive wheels, but it's a GT500. We've got these massive aero bits on the car. It looks the part. And of course, these brakes are outrageous. I remember seeing this at the Boston Auto Show a couple years ago, and they put the brakes up on a display stand. I was shocked. I could not believe it. The car weighs about 4,200 pounds, just a hair under without the carbon fiber pack. So it's a bit of mass to bring down from heavy speeds, and you will be doing heavy speeds because it's got a dual clutch transmission that makes going fast effortless. So the car's been out for a little while. You know all the specs. You've seen some crazy videos on it, but I want to show you what it's like to really live with and drive on a normal road and not just some outrageous commercial. So let's start it up and take a look under the hood. Now, just like an AMG, you're going to want to start this car with the door open. That's normal mode. There's sport. There's track. There's quiet. Let's take a quick peek under the hood. Under here, we've got a 5.2 liter V8 with a big supercharger, hand built with pride. Of course, you've got to have the name engraved onto that supercharger. But yeah, it's pretty typical Mustang. You can see a bunch of Ford bits. What's special about it isn't just that it's a big brute, it's that it's got adaptive dampers and it's got a dual clutch transmission, a first for the GT500. Listen to this rumble. Oh my God. To put the Mustang in gear, we have something very strange for a GT500. It's not a stick, it's this little rotatey guy that you might find on a pickup truck. It works pretty well though. And to be honest, you're gonna see how nice and docile and easy this DCT is. See, that's not so scary, is it? It's really easy to drive when a Honda Fit isn't going head on with you on a small public road. But when that's not happening, it's not that intimidating. I think you're fully aware of what's under your right foot, but you could drive this. It's not gonna get great gas mileage. I don't think this is a good daily, but you could drive it. But look, that's not why you bought it. If we try to do a straight up 0 to 60 from a dig, we're just gonna spin these PS4Ss. So let's roll into it from first. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. That I'm not gonna lie, I didn't go full throttle. That was like 85, 90%. There's a little more left in it. we need to get out to the highway. This is silly. This is so ridiculous. We've got a pretty good tire setup on this too. We've got 305s up front, 315s in the rear. But I mean, it's just not enough. Nothing's gonna be enough. You gotta budget for tires, guys. You gotta budget for tires because no matter what gear you're in, you're gonna leave a little piece behind. Nice straight piece of pavement. That's a big number. Oh my goodness, this is fast. Okay. A lot happens up top. Once you kind of get over 6,500 RPM, that's when you start to really appreciate this engine. This is not the GT500 experience I was anticipating. I've driven GT500s, I've driven other Shelbys like the CS8. Everything kind of happens in that mid-range. I mean, yeah, things amplify as it goes up, but geez, this is another level. This is really something crazy. It does not come for free though, because we basically have a full tank of fuel, maybe an eighth a tank down. It says 145 miles to empty. Is that really what the range is? Are we really looking at like McLaren style ranges on this car? Holy cow. All right, the power is no surprise. This gearbox is so good. This gearbox is so good. And the traction control is literally saving my life. It is making sure I don't die on this drive, and it's making sure I don't have to go back in a very uncomfortable way and say, hey, remember that car you loaned me that had 760 horsepower? Well, it still probably has 760 horsepower, but it doesn't have any rear wheels left because I bashed it into a guardrail. Like, this car is nuts. And that's just a touch of the throttle. That wasn't a lot. I wasn't giving it much. Distances and gaps between you and other traffic start to feel a lot different, because in any other car, I could go wide open right here and it wouldn't make much of a difference. Here, if I go wide open, I'm gonna close this gap so fast. Ready? Thank goodness for the brakes. I don't want to be passing traffic at a speed differential quite that heavy, but it gives you an idea that this can close gaps in traffic like very, very few cars on the road. Certainly almost no production cars, and no production cars for $100 grand. Not that I would ever encourage it, but if you are a light to light kind of driver, I don't think anyone's touching this car from the factory with a warranty, unless you got to spend $300,000. What else are you going to do? You got to get a GT2 RS. I mean, what? Yeah, this transmission's blowing my brains apart. This is a good, like, anybody who saw this car initially and was like, Quatsch, what am I, German? Anyone who saw this car when it came out and said, like, it needs a 6-speed, oh, I can't believe they didn't give it a manual. No, you need to drive this car and you're gonna appreciate the hell out of this DCT. No one's behind us. I would like to do a little brake test because these brakes are monsters. Wow. It's the kind of thing where I think it could use a little more tire, honestly. Like, the brakes are obviously unimpeded, but either I need a little heat in these tires or we just need a little more tire up front to get the most out of that. There's an E55 AMG with a supercharger, another fellow V8 supercharged vehicle, but I tell you what, you got nothing on this. I can't go wide open through this. We're gonna die. Although the exhaust echoing off this is really beautiful. The car sounds amazing. I don't know that you get this experience in much anymore. I mean, everything's quieting down. I have to laugh though, because there are exhaust modes where it goes sport, track. Now, anybody who gets in this car sees track mode and thinks, oh, it'll be the loudest mode. Now, in my brain, I actually go to the track. I would anticipate track would be the quietest mode so you could actually pass. But, okay, then we have quiet mode. I mean, it's still loud, but it does shut it up quite a bit. It makes it a lot more reasonable. You still have to pull into your neighborhoods. You still have to be a reasonable human being. Like, we're gonna go past a school in a minute. I don't need to go blaring by that. No, we don't want to be seen. I don't want to be noticed. And sure, I can turn the exhaust down a bit. I can't turn down the paint. This thing is loud. Visually, it's outrageous. Let me take you through the modes real quick. So we're in normal mode, then we've got sport, then we've got track. When you get into track, it changes this quite a bit, and you've got your horizontal tachometer, but track mode is for like a road track, a road course. It also has drag strip mode. So it's got some crazy launch control. Not gonna be doing that. This car is for sale. And then for whatever reason, slippery mode, so you don't die when it's snowing or raining. And I hope you're not taking your GT500 out in the snow. You will not survive. So for now, I'm just gonna leave it in sport. I think that's a healthy place. It probably gives me enough traction control to not have to make any uncomfortable explanations to the owners. I would like to say one thing that is genuinely surprising to me. The steering in this Mustang is excellent. That's not something I've ever said in my life. Usually Mustang steering is really light, and although you can kind of feel what's going on the road, it's so light that sometimes you overcorrect. You do kind of silly things in the car. This is really natural, and Mustangs, I always feel like the steering is a huge missed opportunity for perfection. They weighted this so well. Check for turtles, caution for amphibians. I don't see any turtles, but we're green like one. The downside to the GT500, you're not going to be able to use this power anywhere or in most places. So unless you live in somewhere like Texas or Florida with a lot of straight roads and good line of sight is pretty critical for this car, then you're just going to have a bad time. I mean, not a bad time, but you won't be able to really use it for what it's intended to be used for. And although, I mean, this handles really well. I love the camber in these corners. We got to take it a little easy though. The problem when you have a car this fast though is because it's so powerful, you're doing so much work to manage that rear end that sometimes you end up driving slower because you're afraid of your right foot messing everything up. So for example, if you put me out here in a WRX STI, I might actually be able to drive faster on these roads than I would. We're just gonna go over this dead squirrel. There's a squirrel right there dead in the road in case he gets excited. Yeah. Gotta warn the pups. All right. But in a Subaru WRX STI, like, you could go just hammer through a bunch of corners and you don't have to really worry. You're not gonna lose traction because your right foot slipped. You'll lose traction because you just went in way too hot. In a car like this, or a Camaro ZL1 1LE, you do have to be concerned about power oversteer, and that's a different ballgame. But right now, we have the luxury of our own pavement. So fast. This is so fast. Oh my goodness, this is so fast. I can't believe they can sell this. They let you sell this? This is just insane. Let's see how she handles a corner. Gotta focus. That's why you want DCT. Come on. Come on. It does everything. It does everything. This is like driving Dom Toretto's monster Charger, except it also can corner. Ooh, all right, I got some chills right there. I want to go on a racetrack with this car. Straight line is not telling the whole story. No, it is not telling the whole story. This is an impressive piece of machinery. What? Okay, I have to limit my exposure. I can't go drive this for another 25 minutes. I'll get arrested. So, let's just say the GT500 is probably the best showcase of what Ford is capable of doing. The car has immense power, immense straight line speed, incredible technology to keep it on the road, because GT500s of the past were a little scary. They weren't cars that you really wanted to hand over to anybody. They've managed to make some major changes to this car, especially the DCT, without really upsetting the audience. I mean, when you make a Corvette mid-engine, or you take away a leaf spring on the car, suddenly everyone loses their mind. We've gone independent rear suspension on the Mustang. We're evolving, and this car is just getting better and better. What's just blowing my mind is that I never anticipated driving a GT500 that handled like a GT350. This is just not something that I ever thought would happen. It's not something I ever thought I would feel, and I am blown away at the capability of this car. So, for the money, you're getting something really, really outrageous that's gonna kind of walk toe-to-toe with some supercars that weigh a bit less and cost way less. But because you're paying less for the car, the interior is a Ford Mustang, guys. I mean, you know, you'll probably develop some squeaks and creaks in the car over time, because at the end of the day, when you have this much vibration, this much flex, this much power going through a chassis, things are gonna happen to it. You're gonna have to get used to that. But I highly recommend, if you're gonna buy one of these, do it definitely do it and definitely drive it. Put a ton of miles on this thing. Go have fun. Oh, but please don't give this to people who can't drive. This is gonna kill them. They will die. I mean, yes, there's systems in place that will keep you from like legitimate certain death, but I don't know, man. This is a lot of responsibility, and I hate to overuse this, but with great power comes great responsibility. I would not hand this to very many people. All right, off we go. Sorry, little Beamer. Thank you. I would like to give a massive thank you to Boston Motorsports in Brighton, Massachusetts, part of the McGovern Auto Group, for lending me the keys to this car. Who lends the keys to this car? Who would ever do this? Thank you guys for trusting me. This is quick. I had fun. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. And a special thanks to the Patreon supporters who make this content possible. Any contributions, whether it's $1 a month, $10 a month, makes such a big difference in making this channel and the podcast happen. Don't forget to respect the drive. I'm gonna go try to reduce my heart rate a little bit. This is a lot to deal with. The balance automakers keep having to make right now is they want to go bigger power, they want to go higher lateral G, they want cars to perform in ways that we've really never seen before outside of a hypercar. But the problem with that is when you do that, you also have to make the car feel safe. You have to not kill people who can afford the car. So does it feel toned down just because it can do all these things? I don't think so. I think Ford struck a really nice balance because there's still a healthy sense of danger in the GT500. 7th gear, low highway speeds were under 2,000 RPM. So I do think you can milk out a little bit of fuel economy from it. And by that, I mean 20 miles per gallon instead of 17. Whatever, my M3 gets 21, so you'll deal with it.